Hey everyone, Alex from Shape Gaming here. I wanted to start posting some content looking at Mythic Plus keys and how you might deal with different affixes, mobs, and bosses in hopes that it might help those of you interested in getting started as a healer or pushing Mythic Plus content. In this key, I'm running a plus 25 fall with friends of mine. The affixes this week are Incorporeal, Sanguine, and Fortified. Luckily, Incorporeal is really easy to handle as a Mistweaver, and I have several other hard CCs across our group to assist when needed. From a talents perspective, here are the typical talents that I run in keys. One major difference you'll notice between my build and the standard builds is that I like to take Focus Thunder over Secret Infusion. I like the extra flexibility that Focus Thunder gives me, which is a core reason why I take it. Neither skill is going to ultimately make or break your builds, so pick which one you're more comfortable playing. This is our typical starter here. We like to pull all this initial group in Lust since we have a rogue and stealth past all the elementals in the tunnel before the last boss. We run into a fun issue here at the beginning as the tank accidentally leaves the group. We're frantically trying to kill these ads so that we can get them back into the key and not ruin the key from the start. The primary ads to pay attention to here are the Infinite Chrono Weavers, who cast a channeled Chrono Melt. You want to ensure this is kicked as it will quickly eat through your party. The Epoch Rippers also teleport to a random target and begin spinning for AoE damage. Make sure you move out of the skill as quickly as possible. Moving into the first boss, Chronokar is a fairly easy boss to heal as long as your group does a nice job dropping the puddles and dodging attacks. When you get the AoE circle on you, run it to the edge. If you get the larger circle with an arrow over your head, you'll wait until you see the circle color change and it says leap on you. Simply use a movement skill to get out of the circle and dodge the golden balls that shoot out. Outside of that, the only thing you need to do is heal the tank through the heal absorb they get and then cleanse the debuff immediately. The next area is probably the worst part of any dungeon in this season. I like to refer to this area as the Circle of Death, and no, I don't mean the fun college drinking game. If you're new to healing, or even if you're good, I think this is an area where you should just accept that someone is going to die as you run into higher keys. This room requires good coordination for kicks and to communicate defensive use due to how many dispels are required. A few mobs worth paying attention to are the Coalesce Moments. If you can manage to kick their infinite bolts, it will make your healing a little easier. These time stream leeches are also particularly annoying and have an innervate spell that your party should kick as often as possible. The really nasty mobs are these time stream anomalies. They target your tank and a random player with a spell called Bloom. When the tank takes damage, the person linked with the Bloom spell also takes damage. Your priority should be to dispel the linked player ASAP. Almost all the mobs also explode upon death, so keep that in mind as you're moving around the circle. Once you've moved around the Circle of Death, you'll face the next boss, Manifested Timeways. This boss is significantly harder than the last one to heal. You'll want to be closer to mid-range from him as your group can easily get spread out in this fight and there's a lot of movement. The boss will cast Fragments of Times, which are a bunch of these balls of light that radiate outward from him. In the highlighted or brighter colored zone, they'll move faster, and in the darker colored zone, they'll move slower. It's best to stay behind these and continue to move in a circle around the boss so that you don't ever get hit by them. If you or your party gets hit by them, it does a lot of damage over 6 seconds and can stack. The other spell that he does is Chrono Faded. He will randomly target 2 people with a damaging debuff. You'll have to choose who will get dispelled first. The person getting dispelled should stand in the highlighted brighter shaded area. Everyone else should be in the darker colored zone as they take less damage. The other person will then stand back into the highlighted zone and be dispelled, or you'll heal them until the debuff falls off. Next you'll move into the Acid Zone. This is purely a heal check. The dragons deal pretty rough rot damage. Make sure you use the healing cooldown for these packs. The next boss is a 3-phase. First boss is a slime that constantly puts stuff on the ground that you have to dodge. It also randomly targets the player with corrosion, which needs to be transferred to the tank before his bar depletes. The slime will then transform into a dragon that has the same corrosion debuff and slime on the ground. He also channels Necrotic Winds, which is a pulsing AoE attack that shoots tornadoes in a straight line. Be prepared for healing, as it can be quite hectic and cause a lot of damage if you don't stay ahead of it. The dragon will split one more time into 2 dragons. The same mechanics with the slime and corrosion still persist. The first dragon will randomly jump and breathe a cone of fire in a player's direction that has to be dodged. The ice dragon will randomly freeze a target that either has to be broken by damage or a movement freezing spell like Blessing of Freedom or Tiger's Lust. Once you completed this boss, you run into the same ads as the first bowl in the dungeon. The only addition are the rock elementals that cast a spell that should be kicked if you have the available interrupts. Most groups here will have a rogue or stealth potions to get through this entire tunnel. They'll start the timer for the boss and then finish the last 4 pack while the timer runs through so that you don't waste any time here. Iridicron is the final boss of this dungeon. The mechanics are fairly simple once you get used to them, however there are a lot of them. You will cast an Extinction Blast on a player. That player has to stand in Chromie's circle to reduce the damage. If you have any players that can drop aggro like Feign Death, Stealth, Shadow Meld, etc., you can cast it before a spell goes off to completely prevent the damage. If the person can't prevent the damage, you'll need to be sure to prioritize that person for healing. Once that cast goes off, all the DPS and healer will stand in the little circle while the tank stands in the smaller circle in front. You'll want to use a healing cooldown for this spell and or have your party use defensives. Skills like Zephyr, Darkness, and other AoE defensives make this attack much easier to handle. I find that I almost always use Chi-Ji during this attack or my Shaylin's Gift. He'll then do a phase where he sends out earth spikes that slowly come towards you. All your group needs to do is dodge these. Following that, he'll do a frontal that your group needs to dodge. It's best if your group can stick together because two players will get circles on them that spawn adds after his frontal casts. These adds need to be killed. Iridicron will continue this rotation until he hits 90%. Once he hits 90%, you'll stack up within Chromie's AoE bubble and use the healing cooldown to keep the group alive. The only other mechanic to keep in mind is that you have to keep Chromie healed up. She needs to be at full health when he does the Extinction Blast. If she gets too low or dies, your group will wipe automatically because it won't have her damage reduction. Once you complete a Iridicron, you've completed the dungeon. I hope you found this content helpful or interesting. As always, thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and let me know if you have any other questions, thoughts, or feedback, or if there is any other content out there that you'd like me to cover.